Hello, everyone. This is a bonus episode because this week I sat down with the newly published government document, the UK Critical Minerals Strategy 2035, and I want to talk about what's actually in it. Not the headlines, not the political gloss, but the real implications for communities like ours. This strategy sets out how the UK plans to secure minerals. It says are essential for economic growth and the so-called green transition. And while it's framed as modern, responsible and forward-looking, once you scratch the surface, it becomes clear that it's built on the same old assumptions: more extraction, more deregulation, more pressures on landscapes and water, and very little meaningful protection for the people living above the minerals. So today, I want to walk you through 10 things that stood out to me, plainly, honestly, and from the ground up. Number 1, the strategy is built on extraction, not sufficiency. Right from the outset, mineral demand is treated as something fixed and unquestionable. The document never asks the obvious question: how much is actually enough? Instead, the only solution they put forward is more mining, more processing, more industrial sites, more sacrifice zones. Demand is treated as inevitable rather than something we could reduce through design, reuse, repair, or restraint. Number 2, it assumes endless economic growth powered by finite materials. The entire strategy is based on the belief that we can grow our way out of the climate crisis using minerals the planet cannot endlessly supply. Green industrial growth is presented as non-negotiable, even if it sits on the same extractive foundations that created the emergency in the first place. It's a vision of cleaner consumption, not less consumption. Number 3, domestic mining is framed as responsible and necessary. The document repeatedly calls for responsible UK mining, but adding the word responsible doesn't change the lived reality of large-scale extraction. The dust, the noise, the tailings, the water pollution, the fragmentation of habitats. Calling responsible is a way of soothing the public, not protecting the environment. And for people living in the upland areas, peatlands, water catchments and rural communities, we know exactly what mining looks like in practice. Number 4, communities are treated as beneficiaries, not decision makers. When people are mentioned in this strategy, it's in terms of jobs, training and investment. There's barely a word about democratic consent, community veto, or the rights of local people to decide the future of their land, their home. This is planning done to people, not with them. It treats communities as scenery, background, something to be managed, not listened to. Number 5, planning streamlining is a red flag. One phrase appears again and again: streamlining the planning system. We all know what that usually means: weaker scrutiny, faster approvals, and fewer obstacles for large extraction companies. What government calls delays, communities call democracy. What they call burdens, we call safeguards. If mineral projects are to be expanded, the first battlefield will be planning. Number 6, recycling features, but it still plays second fiddle to mining. There is a target to meet 20% of mineral demand through recycling. That sounds positive, but the remaining 80% still comes from mines. There's no major commitment to reduce material use, no plan for extending product lifespans, no effort to shift the economy away from high-resource industries. We're told to recycle, but also to accept more extraction. Number 7, China is treated as the risk, but the UK avoids examining its own role. The document frames China as the main vulnerability in critical mineral supply chains, but it avoids the uncomfortable truth that UK and European companies have long benefited from the same extractive relationships in Africa, South America and Asia. If the UK wants ethical supply chains, It has to confront its own history and current practices, not simply point to another country. Number 8. The City of London is positioned as the real winner. If you follow the thread through the strategy, one thing becomes clear. The financial sector stands to benefit most. Mining finance, trading, corporate services, midstream processing hubs. The entire document reads like an investment prospectus for London. Communities are mentioned in passing, but capital markets get entire sections. This tells you who the strategy is really designed for. Number 9. High ESG standards, the comforting phrase that means very little. The strategy leans heavily on the idea that UK minerals will come with world-leading ESG standards. So let's be clear. ESG is not environmental safety law. It stands for environmental, social and governance reporting. It's mostly voluntary. Companies self-report. There is no enforcement mechanism, no independent watchdog with real power. So when a mining company says, we'll follow high ESG standards, what it usually means is, trust us. PR, not protection, in our eyes. And number 10. What's missing entirely? The arms industry. The document talks endlessly about minerals for wind turbines, batteries and electronics, but leaves out one of the biggest consumers, the arms industry. Critical minerals are essential for missiles, drones, targeting systems, military-grade electronics and surveillance technologies, yet none of this is acknowledged. By pretending mineral demand comes only from green technologies, the strategy sanitizes the picture. It hides the fact that a portion of this extraction is feeding over-expanding military production. If we're going to talk about minerals honestly, we can't ignore where they actually go. So in closing, where does all of this leave us? This critical mineral strategy is being sold as a pathway to resilience and risk security. But read closely, and it's a pathway back to the same extractive logic we've been resisting for years. A logic that treats land as a resource store, communities as obstacles, planning as a barrier, and environmental standards as optional. For places like the Sperrins, this isn't abstract policy, it's a warning. Because when government talks about boosting domestic extraction, it means somewhere will be asked to bear the burden. Somewhere will be told it's their turn to sacrifice land, water, heritage, health for national priorities. A genuine transition would reduce demand, prioritise recycling, strengthen planning, protect ecosystems and centre communities as equal decision makers. This strategy doesn't do that. And that's why we need to stay alert, stay informed, stay connected, because these decisions shape the future of our mountain, our rivers, our way of life and the lives of our children. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk again soon. You've been listening to the Save Our Sperrins podcast, Voices from the Frontline. Thank you for joining us today. All the links you'll need, from campaign updates to our social media pages, as well as links shared by today's guests and resources mentioned in the conversation, are available in the show notes. Please take a moment to share this podcast with friends, neighbours, or anyone who cares about protecting our land and communities. And don't forget to hit the follow button on your podcast platform. It really helps the algorithm spread these voices further. Together, our voices are stronger. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep standing with the land, the water, the air, and the people who protect them.